everything, dropped everything, put our small belongings into a small, 5x10 storage unit. We grabbed 2 backpacks and we decided to go traveling the world, nomad style.
Let's Talk Assets podcast. My name is Chris A. Williams, one of your hosts. I'm joined by my co-host,
Giovonni Paradise.
Today, y'all, Let's Talk Assets. We have a very, very special guest. We have Victor Leite, who is one of the co-founders and owners of 25/8 Capital. Victor, tell the people about you, where you started, and a little bit about 25/8 Capital.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Blessed and grateful to be here with you both.
Yes, sir.
On this platform, so I thank you.
Well, he gave you a whole bunch of things to start on. Well, let's break it down chronologically.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about where you
beginning.
Yeah, let's just talk about where did you grow up, Vic?
Yeah.
And take us from 0 to 18, a bridge version.
Yeah. So I was born in São Paulo, Brazil.
Wow.
I immigrated to the States when I was about 10 years old.
Wow.
Came to the States not knowing anything. I didn't understand the culture. I didn't know the language. I didn't understand how things had happened here. But, as you grow up and as you learn in your environment, you start assimilating, and those around me, that were of my mentors then, which were my family members, they told me, you just got to go after that American dream. Go to school, get good grades, go, work multiple jobs, and then, you'll be set up living a nice, comfortable middle-class lifestyle, right?
Absolutely.
And so I followed that path, I worked hard. I went to school. I grew up in Southern California, so I went to school there. I got good grades. I worked multiple jobs. I worked multiple jobs while in college, paid for college myself. And I thankfully was accepted to the George Washington School of Medicine in Washington, D.C., where I received my training and my certifications, as a physician associate. And in that process of it all, I thought, hey, I did it. I made it, I made it.
That was right out of high school, Vic, where you went straight to college. You went to George Washington University.
I went to school in Southern California. I went and got my master's degree. Then I went out to D.C. in medical school.
For medical school.
Yeah.
So just talk us about so you moved here when you were 10 years old. Where did you move to in America?
I moved to L.A., South Central L.A. I lived in South Central. I lived in Santa Ana, California, too. Look, I grew up in Section 8 housing. That's how I lived in. I lived in low-income, Section 8 housing, gang-infested. You had the Crips, you had the Bloods, you had the Latin Kings. And, growing up as a kid, not really having an identity, you kind of fall into that path. And so when I was, 13-ish or so, you connected with the streets, you hung out with the dudes at night, you come home late at night, you try to get into that pattern. But thankfully, I didn't fall into it as deep as some of my friends back in the day. And I kind of went to a different path and I focused on school, athletics, and they kind of led me towards my path towards healthcare.
Awesome. And so what college did you go to in SoCal?
I went to Southern California, and then I went to Cal State Fullerton University.
Okay. Well, yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And when you were going to college that freshman year, you already knew what you wanted to do in life?
No, man. You're 18 years old. I had no money in my pocket, paying school for my own way. I was just really just trying to stay afloat, taking 18 units per semester, working full-time job. I was just trying to follow the path that everybody was telling me to follow. Get a degree. Just get a degree in anything.
Absolutely.
So I really didn't know that I want to head towards the healthcare route.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny. You went to George Washington University. I used to live on 23 and E Street.
Oh, yeah.
D.C. So not right down the street.
Foggy Bottom.
Bottom. Yes, sir. So
beautiful area.
Walk us through your days at George Washington. So you obviously went to medical school. And, what was your thought there?
Look, George Washington University, that experience there was unbelievable. We got to see the best of the best, connected with, Walter Reed, connected with Johns Hopkins Hospital, connected to Washington Hospital Center. It's the president's hospital. So we got to see so many beautiful things, difficult cases, exposure to brilliant people. And then when I left there, I went into private practice in Fairfax, Virginia, working private practice in an underserved Latino practice, where, I took on a practice with a partner of mine at that time. I got a really, big wake-up call, going into private practice, just working 60-plus hour work weeks, on call, overnight call, hospital rounding, getting the pressures to do more, see more, the corporate structures, the medical business world, the insurance world, like it just started, taking a toll on me because, in healthcare, they call us the wounded warriors, right? Yeah. We're here to help people, but we wound ourselves in the end because we're away from our family. We're never there for holidays, Christmases, Thanksgiving, New Year's. You guys are with your family. I'm on call or at the hospital, right? Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things where I started feeling really that burnout after 5 years of it and saying, man, was this even really worth it?
How old were you at this time, Vic?
Gosh, I was in my early 30s. Yeah.
So early 30s.
I was in my late 20s, I'm sorry.
Late 20s.
Yeah.
So kind of when you're just kind of getting started, I want, the audience to kind of digest that, hey, you went through a lot and just started your career almost at 30.
Yeah.
And that's, a lot
of debt, in major debt.
In major debt. A lot of people don't realize that, they think, oh, you're a doctor, you're rich, and you started off rich. They don't realize the journey it took just to get there, just to get your degree, just to get started at 30 years old where you were at. And, from my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, right out of medical school, you took the unconventional route. Usually, you get a job with a bigger hospital, you try to land a job with a big, medical group.
Yeah, group.
And kind of get your credentials, and then you go into private practice, right?
Yeah, I decided that I wanted to serve the community. I'm from Brazil, and I speak, Portuguese, I speak Spanish. I really wanted to come back and give back to the community. That's why I went into healthcare to give back to the community. And, I connected a small private practice in Fairfax, Virginia, where they were seeing 95% undocumented, non-English speaking patients. And so I said, this is my calling. I want to help people. And so that's why I jumped into that, because I felt like that is the path that I was meant to be.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. So I know you had spoken about burnout, like when you were in your career. Tell us a bit more about that.
Look, guys, I talk about burnout pretty openly with everybody. Burnout is a huge problem that most medical professionals, doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists don't talk about, especially since COVID hit. Yeah. Gosh, the burnout ratio has increased significantly. You get angry more often. You get sleepless nights. Some people will use drugs to sleep. Some people use alcohol to sleep. Some people have, go crazy when they're not in the hospital and do a lot of binge activities or just crazy activities to really trying to, suppress that anxiety and depression from that burnout. Just because, think about it. I deal with the death and dying day in, day out. I deal with people's worst days. Yeah. And so taking that in internally and trying to just help them with their problems and their worst days, it takes a toll on you. And I felt the burnout coming, being angry all the time, coming home to my fiance at that time, now my wife, coming home and not being able to give the best of myself because everybody else took it from me throughout the day. You feel what I'm saying?
I definitely, I'm going through that now.
Right. So they take it. Burnout is a big issue. It doesn't have to just be in medicine, by the way.
Yeah.
All of us are striving to do something, but burnout could really hit you fast. And so I saw that coming and I had to make a change.
I love it.
Okay. What changes did you make? Let's
so look, yeah. So my wife was also practicing medicine, at that time. We came back and we said, look, we can't keep doing this. We need to make a change. And so we decided to sit at the table and say, well, what are our goals? What are our outcome-driven goals? I tell my team that all the time, okay? And so we wrote out our goals and we said, you know what? This path that we're leading to, we are making great money, but it's not leading to the path that we want to envision ourselves in the future for. So we decided to make a radical change and we said, you know what? That's it. So we stopped and left it.
Wow.
We left everything, dropped everything, put our small belongings into a small, 5x10 storage unit. We grabbed 2 backpacks, and we decided to go traveling the world, nomad style, for about a year and a half.
Wow, that's amazing.
We took off.
That's one of my dreams.
Yeah. Well, it became my reality because that was one of my goals. And we said, you know what? This is the time now.
Mm-hmm. So during that year and a half that you were traveling, did you learn? And if you learned, like, what was the most valuable lesson you learned in that time?
Yeah, man. Traveling opened up my eyes to so many things in this world, like especially, Americans, the thing about Americans that most people don't know is that the rest of the world thinks Americans are ignorant. It's because we are.
Rightfully.
We don't put ourselves out there to travel and experience things in life, right? So traveling, South America, spending a lot of time in countries that I've never even heard of, spending a lot of time in my own country of Brazil that, I've gone to places where you've never even heard of, right? And then traveling to Southeast Asia and experiencing that difference in culture. What I learned, and I reflected a lot. I did a lot of soul searching. I'm not ultra religious. I'm just spiritual, and I, we did a lot of reflecting, a lot of reading, a lot of podcasts, listening to, because at that time, the podcast was becoming a thing. Now it's just a place for me to get more information, learn more in small bites. And what I learned really is that we're all the same. Everywhere in the world, we're all the same. We all want to be connected to one another. We all want to be around each other. We all are giving. We all are caring. We all are selfish. And we all are ignorant, in our own ways. And so I learned tolerance for people, tolerance for culture. I also learned to not be fearful. I don't have these limiting beliefs that I can't do it, or it's too scary, or I don't know the language, or, I don't know that place. It's like you have to just be willing to take that saboteur out of your brain telling you can't do it and say, hey, why can't I? Let's just go and do it and see what happens.
I love that. I love that. I wanted to touch on that you learned tolerance. Like, can you elaborate and expand on that for us?
Right.
What does that mean? I think that's just so important for anyone on the journey of being an entrepreneur, or on the journey of life, period.
Yeah, that's very true. Tolerance for a lot of different things. You have to be patient. Like, the world doesn't stop for you. The world moves on whether you're here or not. Whether you're trying, to get on a bus to a remote area and the line is extremely long. You're trying to get food at a certain location where there's a mob of, I'll say, Asian folks there that don't follow rules or lines. You sometimes have rainy days. You sometimes have bad days. You sometimes get sick. You sometimes can't get to the next destination you're in search of. Just learning to tolerate the fact that you can't control everything. But you really have to understand that inch by inch, foot by foot, if you're just staying consistent with it, you stay patient with it, you're going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you came back, where did you come back to when you came back to the stateside?
Yeah, man, after that beautiful time that we had, we had a little bit of money saved up. And part of our plan was, our outcome-driven goals, like I always say. And we decided, we wanted to focus on family, building a family together. And we couldn't do it in a 500 square foot apartment in Washington, D.C. And so we said, where can we kind of go to where we're going to have the lifestyle that we're searching for? We love the ocean, I believe. And if you live near water, you're just a happier person.
Amen to that.
And for those of you who don't know this area of Virginia Beach, Virginia, it's still a hidden gem. So let's keep it that way.
For now.
And we wanted a place to where we could raise family, good schools, etc. So yeah, we landed on Virginia Beach. Believe it or not, we came down here for vacation at one point. We said, this is a beautiful spot. Everybody's welcoming. Everybody says hello and hi. You don't get that grimy, that anger eye towards you that you get in Washington, D.C. Everybody here was just so welcoming. So we came down to Virginia Beach, a little bit of money in our pocket, and we just decided to set this flag here. And we didn't imagine staying here for this long. We just thought, hey, let's give it a shot and see how it goes. But, we are here today and we love it.
Yeah. And walk us through timeline-wise. How long ago was that when you moved to Virginia?
That was over 10 years ago.
And then you were a doctor.
Yeah. So I then, at that time,
professionally.
Came back to practicing medicine again to start really generating a little bit of income. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said before, when I was traveling, I did a lot of soul searching, a lot of reading, a lot of education. And I really wanted to focus on controlling my time, no longer trading my time for money, okay, but really having more control of my time. And once I kind of went a little bit deeper into that kind of mindset, focused thinking, real estate really started popping up as one of those vehicles that a lot of people had success with in having the capability in the end to control their own time. And so we kind of got a little bit into real estate right as we came back, got, connected with the local network with great agents, brokers, attorneys, and we bought one property, $50,000. That's all we had. Actually, no, we had $25,000. I took $25,000 loan for my wife's grandmother at that time.
Mm-hmm. Where was that? Was that a rental property?
That was a rental property that we bought for $50,000 on the market for 6 months. It was, I still own it to this day, actually.
Okay. What city was that?
Chesapeake.
Oh, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. 10 years ago, 50.
I was about to say, in Chesapeake, you can't find anything under $200,000. You're getting to steal in Chesapeake today.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the value, the appreciation of the asset. So basically, you started your real estate journey about 10 years ago, you'd say?
10 years ago. Yeah, I would say we started the process of that journey, and it was a journey of evolving journey. It always is, like I said, evolving. We did one, single family rental, which, we, at that time, I don't think it was a thing where it was the quote unquote BRRRR method, which is, you buy, you renovate, you rent it, you refinance, and then you repeat it again. And so we did that not knowing that, and we learned a lot of things through that. And then we started, picking up some interest. We got more connection. We started steamrolling through a little bit of the fix and flip model of investing, which we did 2, and we did 4, 8. We've done over 200 plus projects of that caliber, and then another, 40 plus BRRRRs, and so that kind of got our systems in place, building our teams, getting our motion going, getting the knowledge, and then that's, we made a pivot, and brought all of our experience from the single family side into commercial side.
So, I think you brought out something that the viewers might not grasp and captured, and this is kind of very crucial. But at what point did you go from real estate as kind of a hustle as far as the ancillary income and to where real estate became a business for you, Vic?
Gotcha. Honestly, in the beginning, I was working full-time in medicine, running, my private portfolio along with the fix and flip model of assets. The real change came to me when we really started getting that mailbox money, that passive income, where the passive income started coming in to where it started really taking over all of my daily expenses. And so I said, hey, there's something here to this. We really need to keep going forth with this. And so when my passive income really started, accumulating to call it my freedom number. That's what we call it, our freedom number. Mm-hmm. When it took over all of my expenses, I said, what are we doing here? We really need to focus our time, energy, efforts into building a machine and a team to get this thing to 10x.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where my mindset shift started coming in, where like the income started coming in and it didn't stop month after month after month. And it's too good to be true, right? But that's tax-free money, right? And so it was wonderful to see that. And that was the light bulb moment. Boom. I mean, that was before like Bigger Pockets even got big and all this stuff got big. And
you just dropped the gem and the audience didn't know it. So you just said tax-free money. So everyone knows doctors, right? Everyone hears the word doctor. Oh, Becky, you're a doctor. Excuse me, Becky, you're a doctor. And boom, doctors make a lot of money. Boom, you're rich. But you just said something, hey, real estate, tax-free. So walk us through, hey, why in medicine it's, the tax implications there versus when you invested in real estate.
Right. So I would say it doesn't really matter if everybody has read that book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the quadrants where you're lying, right?
Absolutely.
So what everybody doesn't understand is that most medical professionals, they're employees. They're a W-2 earner. There's 5% of them that become either a partner of their practice, but they're still an employee of their practice. They're still an employee to that, or they're an executive level person, but they're still an employee to the hospital.
Because they have to be there to make money. Is that
correct? They trade their time for money. Okay. And so with that being said, the tax brackets and, once you start making a certain level of money, if you guys understand what tax bracket mean, you start moving into a category where you're not paying, 15%, 22%, 24%. You're hitting 33%. Some are hitting, 35, 38% because they're making so much money and they're not even realizing it. Because what I always say is not how much you make, it's how much you keep. Remember that always. And so what I learned was that this passive income coming through, along with the strategies that we use, and these are maybe a little bit more complex strategies of cost segregation, bonus depreciation strategies that you can shelter all of that passive income. Man, my eyes just lit up and said, why didn't anybody ever tell me this early on in my career or early in my life? Nobody, right? Because it's like a little hidden secret, that most, wealthy people have been doing for generations and generations and generations.
Yeah. That's a major pivot that you had talked about earlier. You were saying that coming up, coming from Brazil and then going to LA and even going to college, you were chasing the American dream. But, you realize what the American dream is really freedom of time instead of necessarily money.
To me, at least my own personal opinion about this is that time is priceless to us. Time is important. We all trade our time for something. Okay? And most people trade their time for money. They spend 40 to 60 hours a week doing it, if not more, right? But there's only 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. And so how much time are you spending on the other things that may be more important to you than money, right? An example, family. I don't know if you guys have kids, but your children, your legacy, your friends, yourself. Everybody forgets that you should be the first person that you take care of. Otherwise, you can't take care of anything else. So your health, your mindset, these are the things that I started realizing that time, when I started gaining more of it back, I was able to dedicate into these things in my life that now have become priceless to me.
Love it. I really want you to kind of walk us through when you're a doctor, you're starting to invest in real estate, you kind of have that aha moment, right? Obviously, your peers, other medical professionals, that's kind of your circle. You know a lot of people in the industry, right?
Right.
Why do you think so many doctors didn't follow the same path you were following? Why don't they do it?
There's so many reasons, but a lot of the thought behind it is that, you spend so much time, effort, energy, money into getting these high-level degrees and titles that you are ready to break out. And most doctors go either into debt or into foreclosure within the first 10 years of practicing medicine. Because not only are they most of them are carrying heavy, educational debt that goes into the, depending on how much you're spending, 500, 800,000. Okay. And that's not including the terms and interest on that money. But also they spend so much time being poor students that they want to, they want to stop eating ramen and they want to start, living a life of sunsets and palm trees. And they want that house. They want that car. They want that lifestyle. They want that boat. They keep acquiring, depreciating assets. And most medical professionals, I'll speak this widely because we speak to a wide cast here because healthcare profession, there's so many people involved. It's the financial literacy is poor. It's poor financial literacy. Nobody speaks to them. Nobody guides them, on how to focus on their future selves, And so I would say it's just a lack of literacy and then the lack of tolerance and patience just because you've been so grinding, poor, working practically for free, eating ramen, living in a house that you rent rooms from. Think about that.
Absolutely.
You start, losing that sense of patience. And so most of the time it's going to be that. And then what that leads to, right? That leads to, you diving deeper into this middle class suck, that toilet where You keep buying more depreciating assets, and you got to keep up with the Joneses and that lifestyle. So you got to go get another job and make more money. And then what happens? You go to the back seat. Your wife goes to the back seat. Or your partner goes to the back seat. Your kids go to the back seat. And then pretty soon they're leaving, and they're not there anymore. So now you're dealing with that problem there.
So it's like you become a slave to your job in a sense.
You do. I mean,
trapped.
How many
you have to maintain your active income all the time?
Yeah, how many doctors have you seen that are 67 years old, man, still working? You think that's a freedom lifestyle? No, they're not. They're wonderful healers of people, but they're terrible at taking care of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
and so you kind of, from what I hear and what I'm gathering from what you're saying, is it's not much different than a professional athlete. They're high income earners, and they don't have a lot of financial literacy. And so it doesn't really matter how much money you take. It's what you do with it, right? It's not just what you keep, but also what you do with the money you keep.
Correct, yeah, because it buys your time back. And I'd rather trade money for my time than time for money.
Can you say that one more time? Because that's very powerful.
I'd rather trade money for my time than time for money. Think about that and let that marinate.
That's powerful.
So, Victor, we talked about how many of your peers, their mindset is, but you're still in the same field or associated with the same field. So what really made you different and kind of put that seed in your brain to think different?
It really took that reset really to really spark a change in me, because you know how it is. We all of us, wake up in the morning, we hit that alarm snooze button, right? Nobody gets up, right? Hit that alarm snooze button. We hate our day. We go most everybody goes in the morning, goes to the coffee pot, drink that cup of coffee. They try to get, whatever they can get in the morning from that Starbucks line they can get, and they jump in their car to drive to a place in which they're going to trade their time for money. Okay? And they do that for about 40 hours, if not 60 hours in the week. Okay? And what I saw with that behavioral pattern is that it wasn't going to lead to the outcome-driven goals that I set out for myself and my family. Okay? And so I realized that, if I keep following the same path, whether most people think like it's glamorous or not, then I was just going to follow the same paths as the other ants and get in line and live that middle-class family, just getting ready to retire at an age that some financial advisor tells me I can retire at. And then I only got about, like I told you guys, on average, the male American lives up to the age of 78 years old. So if I'm retiring at, let's say, well, it's not going to be 65 anymore. It's probably going to be about 70. I got about 8 years left to say, I have control now. You have got to be kidding me, right? If you think about it deeply.
And there's only so much you can do at that age. You can't. You don't really
everything's going to be hurting. Your back's hurting. You're tired. Your energy's low. You have less risk tolerance to go and see these beautiful places, these untouched places, because they're hard to get to. You have less tolerance for, being around family. You're likely not going to be physically active. You're going to be frail, and you're just waiting to die.
Yeah.
So it's not really living. You're existing.
No. And I've seen that over and over again, okay? It's just the same behavioral pattern that I've seen personally. And it just didn't reach my outcome-driven goals that I wanted to go after. So I'm truthfully thankful that we set that reset button to wake up.
Yeah. I have an interesting question for you. At what point in your life and your career did someone in your family ask you for money?
Nobody in my family really has asked me for anything. My parents, who are immigrants and came to this country with no money in their pockets, they sacrificed everything. When I left Brazil in the 80s, it was a military dictatorship.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So what does that mean? That you have no control about anything. Yeah. It was an event where Friday you had, let's say, $1,000 in your bank account, and by Monday you had $100. They took a zero away from the valuation of the currency. So my parents came here with nothing. So nobody has really asked me for anything. My, goal is to make sure that all of my family members are taken care of, and I've accomplished that. My parents, my kids, my surrounding, my team, abundance. So they're not ever asking me for anything because they've already given me so much. Everybody's giving me so much. I just want to step up for them and give that back to them. Kidding me? I mean, everybody has sacrificed. You see me, I'm the tip of the iceberg, man. You haven't seen the bottom of this iceberg here. Everybody in my life has held me up to get me to this point. I'm here today to talk to you guys.
Yeah, beautiful. That's great. And like you mentioned, earlier, you're very passionate about helping others. I believe that's where 25-8 Capital comes in, because you were talking about, that first house, right? And then you did the flips, the 200-plus flips. And then now, with 25-8 Capital, JVs, joint ventures, syndications. Tell us a bit about that and how you're helping out, the community.
Yeah, transitioning over to the commercial space and starting 25-8 Capital, right? And everybody asks, what does 25-8 mean? Mm-hmm. Everybody always says that, right? Yeah. And we say we got to set a new standard. I just told you guys there's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, but I say, well, that's just not good enough. Mm-hmm. We got to work harder. We got to be better than the next person. We talked about this. I tell my team the entire basis. What are we all about? It's on my sock right here. Just be stronger than your excuses, because a lot of people have excuses. They have 1,000 excuses and more opinions behind those. Yeah. But we started 25-8 Capital to say, hey, that's enough. We can control this game that the ultra rich and wealthy have been playing for generations. We started with the idea of building this private investment group in which we have now, and bringing in, educated, busy professionals just like myself or my other partners that don't have the time for it now. But we have a platform and a capability to allow them to come in some of the opportunities that they would never have access to in the first place, just because of the level of deals that we're doing, and giving them that taste of that freedom life. Give them a little bit of that taste of that freedom number. A whole lot easier than what it took me to do. Yeah. Because one thing that I realized early on, I started doing a lot of things by myself. You know how it is, entrepreneurs, right? We're all, first of all, entrepreneurship, if you guys don't understand that, it's like you wear 10 hats, okay? You're doing everything. And your heart is always pounding, and your blood pressure's up, and you can't sleep at night. You have sleepless nights. And I always say that analogy of like entrepreneurship is like jumping out of a plane, no parachute, building the parachute all the way down. Okay, you have to understand that we understand that about everybody's lifestyle. And so we said, hey, let's create a easier path to financial freedom by investing together. So we started a model in which we felt we can bring busy professionals together, educated. Syndication model, like you mentioned. Syndication, easily stated, is group investing. Everybody comes in on an opportunity, invest your money, and they buy shares into the syndication in which they receive returns. And remember, cash flow, that's king. It's all about the flow. We talk about that all the time. They get cash flow tax-free because we set the same models we did. Same thing I did in that first little house, So, 25-8 really came about because we wanted to give a platform for all these people that we talk about. They don't know about it. They don't have access to it. It's usually they're going to invest in the 401k and invest in the S&P 500, and maybe they'll get into bonds, and they'll pay a financial advisor 1 to 2 to 3% a year to tell them to invest in the S&P 500 and buy bonds. And by the way, I think you're going to be retired, Gio, probably at 70 the way it's going. I'm like, no, that's not fair. Let's give them alternatives, man. Let's give them something else.
Let's give some good value here, because I would say a majority of the audience listening that has any type of W-2 job has a 401k.
Oh, yeah.
What is, and we're not here to bash 401ks by any means. It's a vehicle. All vehicles go places, right? But break down for them, in your own opinion, why real estate is a more effective vehicle for investing than a 401k.
Right. So you got to go back to the idea of what is a tax shelter account, like a 401k or an IRA, if people have IRAs, whatever. Like, you have to go back to what it is and who came up with it, right? The game is written, right, by people with a lot more money, a lot more wealth, and actually our government, who controls everything. You're seeing it right now with a quantitative easing, which is pretty much printing money, and then with the federal Treasury holding back, the bond market, which affects everything that's going on in real estate.
Yep.
So 401ks, it was just another vehicle in which you can put your money into tax defer. Well, you pay taxes on the back end, right? And you can invest in the stock market. That's usually what it is you can do. Okay. But they did that more than likely because we're running out of money. Yeah. We're, in our generation, I'm an older millennial. You guys are a little bit younger millennials, but like, if you look at the census, if you look at the report done by the Social Security Administration, we're going to run out of Social Security and Medicare money by 2038. Look that up. It's fact. Okay. So the government's saying, we can't take care of you anymore. You got to take care of yourself. So we're going to give you a vehicle so you can put some money that's tax-free right now, let it grow a little bit, and then we're going to tax you in the end, okay? So they said, you got to take care of yourself. But the average person, which is, it's going to be your person in your probably 45 and 50s, has about $90,000 in that 401k.
What's the problem, though? Because this is a problem a lot of people that I know with 401ks have, is they have a life event and you need to access a certain portion of capital. What happens when you tap into that 401k?
So the 401k, you have certain stipulations that you can't take the money out before the age of 59 and a half, okay? So if you have to take it out for some certain event, like, we got an appendicitis and we got to take this money out to pay the hospital bills, more than likely, you're going to be paying a penalty, and you're also going to get another, a tax on that money you take out. Taxable event. It's a taxable distributable event. So you're still going to lose one way or the other. Okay?
And there's no tax benefit long-term or even short-term, really to 401k, because like you said, it's all just deferred, right?
It's deferred towards when you kind of start pulling that money out. You have to kind of, there's some throttles that you have to do, and I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not giving advice here of that. But what I do understand that, it's a vehicle that you can put your money into, that you can likely pull an average of 4% a year out by the time you're ready to, quote unquote, retire. Mm-hmm. You can only put a max amount of money into that account per year, which is, I think, is about around $24,000. If you guys can fact check me on that one. And then you have to pay the fees. Yeah. Ain't nobody talking about the fees, the hidden fees.
Yep.
What I hear from everybody is the S&P 5, the stock market and S&P 500 delivers 7% returns on an annual basis. I said, really? Well, what about the fees that I got to pay to the mutual fund provider? What about the fees I got to pay to the financial advisors? All in all, it's going to be around a 3 to 4% fee, right, on assets I have in there. So you're leaving probably with around 3% to max 4%. On average. You could put your money in the savings account and do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So like the 401ks, it for those who don't have any other alternative investments, I will say, if you're a higher income earner, stuff your money in any account that you can get into right now, because it's better to put it for your future self than to not put it anywhere else right now and get taxed right now. Mm-hmm. But I would say, don't believe what they're telling you or rely on the fact that you think you're going to retire in the sunsets and palm trees life with a 401k. It's just not going to happen. Do the math. Yeah. Just do your math. Mm-hmm. Think about it.
Yeah. What is the advantages of real estate, though? How does it impact, like, what 25A Capital does in the commercial space? And me and you've talked, Vic, about this, because I've cut my teeth in the residential. I'm just starting to get into the commercial space because it has way many more advantages tax-wise. Mm-hmm. But how does that create wealth? There's multiple ways. It's not just one.
No, it's not just one. Everybody always talks about, the returns. We call that the flow, the cash flow. Yeah, cash flow usually says that little cherry on top that everybody wants, that most W-2 earners want because they want their time back. And I get that. But I say that's a cherry on top. What we really want to go after is those tax benefits, okay? Because like I said before, it's not what you make is what you keep. There's great tax shelters in real estate. It's one of the very few, I'm using the word shelters. My accountants don't like that I use that word, but it's a few vehicles in which you can counterbalance the taxes in which you have to pay versus what the government pays you back, because you're doing what the government wants you to do. housing. They're not good at it. They sucked at it. So they say, private investors, can you help us do this job that we sucked at? And we'll pay you and actually incentivize you from a taxation standpoint. And then also, the appreciation of these vehicles. I always say to everybody, there's certain things in life that we all need. We all need air. We all need water. We all need food. We all need shelter. We might need energy now because of all these iPhones and all this stuff we got, but that's another conversation. But we need shelter. Since the beginning of time, the caveman needed a cave, okay? And it doesn't ever change. So when it comes to real estate, we're providing a service for people that it's never going to go away. It's forever going to be here, good market or bad market. So, there's great value in that. And with value comes appreciation, meaning the value that you bring to the property after you come in and what it's worth in the market or to the bank or to the government when you try to reevaluate it at certain points.
Yeah.
You feel me?
So, Victor, we're talking about like 401ks versus, investing in real estate.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people want to invest in like a 401k or even a savings account because they feel, it's not that risky. It's a safe place to put their money. So what would you say to those people?
If you follow that algorithm, if you follow that formula, you're going to work until you die. Okay? Because that's what's fed to us, okay, by all of everybody around us, okay? You have to follow a different strategy to buy your time freedom back. Now, once again, the 401k is what is only left for us because there's no more pensions. So I say, if you're a W-2 earner and you got a 401k and your company is matching, yeah, go for it. I mean, take it until you figure out something else. But you need to strategize in having alternative vehicles that provide you with more than a 4% return or whatever it is you want to call in a 401k that you can barely put any money into. Real estate is the one that we landed on at 25-8 Capital because we've seen it with our own eyes. We 10x'd our wealth in a short period of time by playing the game that most wealthy people play. They invest in assets, hard assets, physical assets. Right now, especially in this recession, and if you guys are not watching the pulse of the market right now, everybody's telling me that the stock market is going crazy right now, that everything's at all-time highs. Watch over the next 12 to 24 months what's about to happen, yo. Think about it. What's about to happen. Now, I'm not calling for a major recession, but something's going to happen when you have a lot of money printed out.
We could talk about, you brought up the bond market controls everything. You talk about the treasury bonds, right?
Yeah, the treasury.
And you have, the 10 and the 2?
The 2, the 10, and the 30. I mean, but we follow the 10.
When that yield curve inverts, what does that mean, Vic?
When the yield curve inverts means that, the bottom is falling out and it's time for us to go shopping. That means that debt gets cheaper. That means that the world is falling apart. Just like in the last week. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the jobs reports came out. And so the last month's jobs report, we had 22,000 jobs lost. This month's report, we have 231,000 jobs lost. But that's the game that they want us to play. They said it. The Fed said, we're going to follow the jobs report only. And we need people to lose their jobs. Think about it. So we're going into this kind of environment that maybe in our lifetimes we haven't really experienced, just like COVID.
Because we came out of COVID, right? COVID, they really loosened up interest rates that encourage what? Borrowing.
Quantitative easy.
Quantitative easy.
Spend that money,
but
print
what
that.
They have to do.
Now they made a big mistake, and now they're seeing that inflation was at an all-time high, and everybody was going out spending and buying Lambos and buying boats and buying this and buying that and buying Gucci at the malls. But now they're feeling the hangover, and they're like, oh, man, we made a big mistake. We printed too much, and we're still printing. So now we have to pull that back, but now it's going to hurt. They call it tightening, right? Tightening. Like, that's a nice term by saying we're gonna choke you out. And they don't care what happens. So what's going to happen? People are going to lose their jobs. People are going to go to foreclosure. People are going to be depressed. People are going to commit suicide. It's going to go into that pattern of that behavior. And that's where we're focused on, real estate. Man, boy, I don't know if you guys are ready, but I'm ready to get in there because there's going to be a buying opportunity. Why? just like what they say. Everybody runs away from the building when it's on fire. We go after because it's an opportunity where everybody's afraid.
I love that. I love that. So can you say that one more time? I love that.
So most people run away from a burning building. We run towards it because we know that there's opportunity there.
Yeah.
To make something happen.
So speaking of opportunity, right? So let's say I'm a person in the audience, I've been saving up my money from my job, my W-2 job. I've got $5,000 saved up, right? I want to get with you. I want to get with 25-8 Capital. Can I, invest with you in real estate with $5,000 or even less than that? Or do I have to have a significant amount of money?
Look, I say if you got only $5,000 in your bank account, you shouldn't be investing at all in anything except yourself. Okay. Invest in yourself. Invest in your education. Learn. Invest in courses. Invest in mentorship. Invest in that first. Take care of yourself first.
Love that.
Okay? I can take anybody's money, but why would I? We want to create legacy. We don't want to generate money. We're trying to create legacy wealth for future generations. That's what we're about. So if you're not fitting into that mold just yet, which is fine, we guide people, we educate people for free. We just want to create a tribe of highly educated folks who want more for themselves. So I'll say to that person who's got that $5,000 in the bank account, man, that should go either into yourself, into your education, okay, or should go in paying down debt, because zero debt is better than investing anything else right now.
Love that. Okay? And you may have answered part of my next question, but if you were to go back, let's take it back 20 years.
Yeah.
And you were to tell your younger self one piece of advice, you could tell yourself one thing. What advice would you give yourself that would have a meaningful impact on your life and change the trajectory of your path?
I don't have one advice, but I have a general recommendation.
There you go. That's what
I would say. Stay consistent. Stay consistent in your patterns of behavior. Okay. Focus on your outcome-driven goals. Okay. You need to know where you're going before you start anything. I tell everybody all the time, let's get in the car. Let's go to the airport. I have my bags ready and I have no ticket. Where are we going? No, you never do that, right? So you need to focus on where your outcome is first and work your way backwards. I will say that a roadmap is what I'm going after. Roadmap is what you need first. And, before you even spend a dime, you need to figure out why do you want it? What's your purpose? We all need purpose. And so the purpose of it is different from all of us in different stages of our life. So why do you want to do this? Why this is important to you? Why am I going to get up every morning and do this every day? And then you can figure out your hows and all that. But I'll say staying consistent with your patterns of behaviors. And our pillars that I usually say is your mindset, your health, your wealth, and your legacy. Staying consistent in those patterns, okay? And then I also will say one thing that I learned, by starting these companies is don't be afraid to work on an action plan that doesn't have you involved all the time. Okay, we call it the RPM. I tell everybody we have the RPM. I didn't patent that. That was Tony Robbins who patented that. But I said RPM, right? It's figuring out your roadmap, figuring out your why, but then doing your do's, your delegates, right? Your defers and your dumps. Don't be afraid to delegate. Build your team around you early on. Build your tribe. Have a direction. Okay, if you can do that I wish I would have heard that a whole long time ago, because I was just going at it blind and not getting much guidance, didn't know which way we're going. But understanding it now would be a so much easier path with less resistance if I did.
Yeah, and this is a question we always love to ask our guests. Victor, what makes you an asset to the people in your life?
I think because I show up. I commit and I show up. I commit and I show up for them. I commit and I show up for them for what they need me for, without asking for anything in return. That is why I look at myself as being an asset. What do you need? You need a crying shoulder. You need a holding hand. You need to work through some ideas in your brain. You need me to be there for you, to pick you up at the airport. What do you need? Just being there, showing up, commit, right? Committing to that. So I feel like just my commitment level to the people around me, my team, and just having that consistent behavior pattern that I show everybody, that I don't just say it, I live it. Okay? That's what I tell everybody. I live it. I am consistent with my patterns of behavior, and I try to be. I'm not perfect. but I am committed to that. So that's where I feel my value comes in.
I love that. You've done some amazing work so far with 25-8, and you're several hundred doors and growing. And you haven't been in the game that long in retrospect to where you're at. So, huge congratulations on the hard work that you've put in and that you and the team are continuing to do. But are you still practicing medicine? Because that's huge. That's majors. Several hundred doors is nothing to sneeze at. And I mean, obviously, you've not only earned passive income to carry your lifestyle and then some. Yeah. So what keeps you going, if anything? Are you still practicing medicine?
I am. Actually, I practice on a monthly basis. I devote my time to the community. I'm Latino, so I devote my time to the underserved Latino community of the coastal Virginia area in Hampton Roads. I believe it's a part of my purpose on this earth is to help and help others. And I have certain skill sets that can do that. And so I still practice medicine and give back to the community.
Wow. That's beautiful. One thing that we've done recently, we've been asking you a lot of questions, but we've been kind of interrogating you. We want to open up the floor to you to ask both Chris and myself both a question. Anything you want to ask us, one question each.
All right.
You start with Chris. Put him on the hot seat.
Oh, let's do it.
Chris, what is the top 3 things you have taken away from meeting all of these people on this platform? Because this platform is giving you a lot of access to a lot of people with a lot of information and a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
What are 3 things that you would bring up that you say, hey, this really stuck with me on these conversations?
Okay, 3 things. I could give you 30 things. I'm going to start with the first thing. The first thing is to be a listener, right? So be a sponge, actually. Soak up the information that the people are giving you, and not just be a sponge, but also put in action too. So don't just hear what they're saying and be like, oh, that's cool, that's something I could maybe do. No, take what they do and apply that to your life, apply that to your business. That's something I've been implementing, and it's actually helped my businesses out tremendously so far. So I would say that's the first thing is just, being a sponge, being a listener. The second thing I would say is just showing up consistently. Showing up consistently regardless of what happens to you in your life. A lot of the people that we've spoken to on the podcast, they've had various circumstances that's happened in their life. Not everybody has had the sunshine stories, rainbows and all things like that. A lot of people have went through dark storms, went through dark nights and things like that, and they've been able to get over it just by putting in consistent action and knowing, that they, like you said, like you mentioned, that they have a plan at the end of the day. They have a certain direction in which they want to go to. So I would say that's the second thing. And the third thing, let's pull a list pull one thing out of these 30 things. Let's say, the third thing I would say, my third favorite thing would be kind of really reiteration of what I said with the first one, but just focusing on putting action in. Really, that's really the biggest thing I would say. It's just putting in action. That's my thing. A lot of times, like, you'll go to conferences, events, you'll hear people and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Right. I love what they're saying. But if you just soak that information and you don't do anything with it, kind of wasting your time.
Yeah, a lot of people are dreamers and wishers, but they're not action takers. And they're not action takers because they really don't have a roadmap and they don't believe in themselves. And they also, one thing that they don't do, and I will set this also as a good tip, for anything that you can do and you have a goal for and you break it down into actual steps, set a deadline. Yeah. Set a deadline for yourself. 2 hours a day, 90 days, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Set the deadline because you need to commit to a deadline to yourself and look in the mirror every day of why are you going to show up and why are you going to do this every day? That's one thing I will say to go off of that, actual steps. Everybody has wishes and dreams. Yeah. Everybody's got that. They want to be famous right now, but nobody's really taking the actual steps towards getting to those goals they set for themselves.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
All right, so Gio, let me go off another angle. So we talked a little bit about burnout. You told me a little bit about burnout. I know a little bit. We talked a little bit off camera about your story. Like, what are the kind of saboteurs early on in your brain, saboteurs, these conscious thoughts that you had, and how did you overcome these conscious negative thoughts, whether they were, you can't do it, you're not smart enough, you don't have enough money. How did you overcome that?
I mean, I think a lot of it is kind of what you said, is putting the right people around you. It starts off with being self-aware. And that's hard for us. As you said, we're especially as men, right? We're testosterone driven. We have egos. We all have egos. And it's very hard for us to admit to ourselves our weaknesses. So I realized before I went on this journey, I was very self-aware of my weaknesses. And I surround myself with people who my weaknesses were their strengths. Because I know a lot of my strengths are other people's weaknesses. So that harmony and that self-development, but a lot of the saboteur in the beginning in my entrepreneurial journey was control. I wanted to do everything myself. I was scared to delegate, I would say. I would be so nervous to people that people would drop the ball. And I realized that I had to have a team and people around me that I could trust and rely on just as much as they trust and relied on me to carry the business further. And, a great mentor of mine told me you could have growth and control, but you can't have both. And so that was one of the hard lessons I've learned in business, and it has caused the structure of my company to change greatly over the last 12 months. And, I think things are in a positive direction. But in the very beginning was, the saboteur. The thing of sabotage was, it reaches burnout when you try to do everything yourself because you can only wear so many hats. And I had to be able to step outside of the business and work on the business rather than end the business in order to scale it. And I'm able to do that more now. My company is thriving because I'm able to help the company grow rather than just be an employee.
No, that's well said. These lessons that you learn over time. That's what I keep saying, it's easier said than done to get to a point where you feel successful. But having these saboteurs in your brain at night telling you can't do it, you got to control everything, that's going to lead to a path of failure because it's the who's will get you further than the hows. The who's, building the team around you of committed people, and people who do things better than you, that's why you can't go and try to undercut somebody or sometimes try to, not recognize someone for their value. Like you have to take care of the people around you who can get you to that next ladder step in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of as a, conclusion, wrapping this up, what's next for Vic and 25-8 Capital?
25-8 Capital, man, Victor, I'm the co-founder, but I have a team behind me. I have a team behind me of great individuals. They're here with me always. They're always trying to promote us to try to keep doing better, bigger things. Right now, our focus is to get ourselves in a position to acquire over 2,000 units in the next 3 to 5 years. And over the 10 years, we want to go to 10,000 units under management.
Wow,
okay,
I love that.
And that's a lot. That's big goals. But I say if you don't reach up further down, if you don't reach up any higher than you can touch, then you're never going to reach anywhere that's significant. We want to get to that level of asset caliber, and we're going to do it. I know we're going to do it. We're going to keep building, keep growing. We're going to keep connecting. We're going to keep growing our network, growing our tribe. Like I said before, there's going to be opportunities. Real estate, especially, there's cycles. Right now, the cycle is shifting. We recognize that. Staying patient, not, moving in a direction where you're going to take yourself out of the game. Be selective right now. Don't overcommit to anything. Don't overspend. And then focus on building the systems. That's what we're doing right now. We're big about education. We run private, mastermind groups. We educate. We kind of grow our network through that. But really, we're on the scale of growth and abundance for all, and not just for our internal team, for our entire community. That's what we want. We want to grow, and we want to give back to the community along the way. It's not just about making money. It's about making change. We want to change the communities in which we're in. You guys were at the night market that we did at one of my apartments, we're giving back to the community. We want to give back and give a platform for people that never got the opportunity. And we can control now some of the levers. So at 25-8, we're here focused on changing communities, changing lives, and really being just stronger than an excuse.
I absolutely love, where you're at in your entrepreneurial cycle and how you're still hungry. That's very motivating for us who are kind of just getting started. Yeah. Love to see that the sky is never the limit. It's only the view. And actually, you talked about giving back. You have something that you kind of wanted to share with the viewers, and we're going to drop that down in the notes.
Yeah. I mean,
below.
Yeah, you guys are doing such great things here. Such great things for the viewerships, for everybody to learn. They're giving out gems, y'all. They're putting this together, by the way. They're not getting paid for this. They're doing now this of their focus, grateful kindness of their hearts, So we want to do the same because we're all about education, motivation, education. We want everybody to be on the same wavelength. So as a team of 25 Capital, we decided we're going to drop one of our free freedom calculators. And these calculators is going to pretty much give you an entire breakdown of how to reach your quote-unquote freedom number. And when we say freedom number, we mean when your passive income takes over your, lifestyle. Nobody knows that number. Everybody says, I want to make $1 million. Well, do you really need to have $1 million to be technically free and have your time back? No. On average, I would say, on an average middle-class family, $5,000 to $7,000 a month in cash flow will change your life. But you don't even know that. You don't know where the money's going and where it went. You don't know how much you're spending on a regular basis, and you have no freaking clue where your roadmap is. And that's what we want to give back to you guys. So we're going to drop in the show notes a link to the Freedom Calculator. Please use it, enjoy it, give us feedback. We're trying to make it better. But it will really give you a number that you can put in your brain saying, when I hit that number, I got my time back. And that's what I want you to focus on, controlling your time.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a lot of free value for the people, y'all. So make sure you go in the show notes, you get that link, and you fill that out and apply that to your life also. And Victor, so with 25-8 Capital, I know you guys have huge aspirations, and y'all are about to accomplish some huge things. So where can the people sort of like follow y'all's journey and see your journey? Are you guys on social media?
We're everywhere. Okay. We're everywhere. We're at our website, www.258cap.com. You can see some of the things we have on that website. We're on social at 25-8, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We do a private, right now it's a private mastermind for all of our community. There's no cost. Everybody who's in our community who has signed up for our team and who is with us, we provide a free monthly mastermind on high-level educational stuff. We talk about, wealth, legacy. We talk about alternative investments that you never even heard of. Okay, you ever heard of the Rockefeller formula? Have you ever talked about investing in oil wells, actually owning the oil well? You know what I mean? Have you talked about infinite banking? Well, that's what we talk about because those are strategies I've never heard of in my life. But then we bring in, all the other experts, the accountants, the attorneys, the mindset folks, the performance folks saying, how do we just become better at every single part of our lives? So follow us on any other platforms and just come join our tribe. We're open book. We're here to welcome everybody. And just come join us. We're here just to help.
Thank you so much for joining us, dropping gems and your wisdom on us, Vic. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Giovonni here with my co-host,
Chris A. Williams. Let's talk assets.